Hello, and welcome back to the Goat Cave podcast. Before we jump into today's interview, I've got a couple things I'd love to talk about. August 9th is the Money Talks Jam. That's the BMX jam where I pay you to come and ride. Winner takes home $50, some merch, and this year's awesome Golden Goat Award. Check this thing out, this 3D printed plaque. This is amazing. I really want to thank my buddies at Shapeworks. Incredible job they did. I really appreciate it, you guys. So thank you so much. Alrighty. And so the jam starts at noon. It'd be awesome if you guys are there for that. Would love to see you. Before that, I've just got one ad to play here. I'll play that ad and then we're good to go.
One of the best tattoo shops in the country. I've worked alongside some of the best tattoo artists in the industry, been able to really grow and expand my portfolio and my wealth of knowledge. We are one of the Tri-City's premier tattoo studios. We focus on creating a unique tattoo for each client in a friendly, welcoming, professional environment. We work closely with the Board of Health to set the standards for cleanliness and safety. If tattoos are not your thing, our piercer Deacon is fully accredited with the APP, the Association of Professional Piercers, and is considered one of the region's top piercers, leading the charge in innovation and growth within the piercing community. If you want to learn more, you can follow us on YouTube at Wonderland Tattoo Studios. If you want to check out my work, you can check it out on Instagram at Can't Contain the Wayne, or check out the shop's Instagram at Wonderland Tattoo Studios KW.
Alrighty, and we're back after that quick ad. Today's guest is a BMX legend. He is known for sending some of the biggest street clips ever filmed with a style like no other. He has had video parts in some of the best BMX DVDs ever made, including Holy Fit, the Triptape, and probably the most watched full-length video on the internet with 1.4 million views, Brighton Aint Ready 2. He was involved with the creation of the BMX brand Stranger and has spent 9 years riding for one of the biggest BMX brands in the world, Fit Bike Co., where he and the people behind the scenes at Fit would produce some of the most iconic signature bikes and colorways. I'm excited to say that we're speaking with the one and only Shawn Mac. Shawn, how are you, man?
Hey guys, what's up? I'm doing great. Just on a nice long drive to Tennessee from Oregon right now, so perfect time to chat with you.
Yeah, you were telling me that it's like 34 hours worth of driving.
Yeah, we've been on the road for 38, 39 hours, 39 hours already, just because we've been stopping and doing that. We took a little 2-hour nap in Salt Lake in the trailer. Keep hitting the road.
Yeah, man, that is wild. Let's just jump right into this. The way that I typically do this is that we go all the way back to when you first started riding. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How'd you get started?
Oh, I got a background in racing BMX. I started racing when I was in kindergarten, and I raced BMX all the way up until about 6th grade. And I didn't really like the rules and regulations of the whole deal. And our town got a skate park about that time, and I just figured out how to just go down there and have fun more than paying all the fees and all that stuff. Just going and doing it for free and fun.
Hell yeah, man. That is so rad. So what was the first freestyle bike that you had?
I had a S&M Dirt Bike Classic. It was my first frame that I built into a full custom bike. I think I was in 9th grade, but all the stuff before that was just whatever, complete bike.
Hell yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. That is so rad. Sorry.
All kinds of weird little bikes when I was younger, for sure.
Yeah, S&M dirt bike is one of the most iconic BMX bikes ever made, So it's pretty rad that that was one of your first bikes. And on top of that, you rode for Fit, which is actually owned by Chris at S&M. So that is super rad that, one day you grew up to ride basically for the same company.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. So, who were some of the riders when you first started riding? Was it mainly local people? Was it, big name pros, anything like that?
Chester Blacksmith. He's from the same town as me. He's the one who kind of showed me that it was real life, traveling and riding and doing all that stuff. And he moved out of town when he was about 18 and went up to Portland, and I hardly ever seen him. But I think he's like 5 years older than me, so I was still pretty young when he left town to go start traveling and riding for companies and filming for videos and stuff like that. He just showed me that it was possible, really, and gave me the drive,
That's wild, man. It's crazy to think that, like, BMX legend Chester Blacksmith had like such an impact on you and your riding, and it really shows, like it's crazy just to see that. Like, I live really close to Joyride, and all of those pros, like they looked up to Drew Bezanson when he first started riding there. Like, all the dudes that have come out of this area are totally like huge Drew fans, So I think it's just kind of cool to have like a big name pro like that in your city, right?
Totally, yeah. Definitely gives you a little better of a drive to get there where you want to get.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about your sponsors. Over the years, you have ridden for like literally some of the biggest companies in BMX. Stranger, Fit Bike Co. There's a couple other ones as well. Like, you rode for Low Tech for a little while, which was a shoe company, correct?
Yeah, I had a shoe with them.
That's awesome, man. But let's talk about, back when Stranger first started. The rumor is that you actually helped create Stranger in Rich Hirsch's apartment back in the day. So what was that like the early years of Stranger?
Well, I had just moved from Grants Pass to Portland, and Justin Inman actually needed a roommate, so I moved in with him, and he got me hooked up with Rich because he was riding for Low Tech at the time, and actually we wore the same size shoes, so Rich just started doubling the order to the house, and then I ended up meeting Rich while Justin was filming for Fit Life, I think it was, and we just clicked and became super good homies, and then I was riding for Low Tech and Goods BMX out of Portland, so those were my two sponsors, and I didn't really have anything lined up with frames. I was just kind of a nobody, Nobody knew who I was at the time. And then Rich came up with the idea for Stranger, and I was totally down, and we started working on a frame geometry. And we went through a couple different guys at first. We actually went through Moeller for a batch of frames, and we went through Solid, and we got a batch of frames done there, and we tested them and rode them. And I think he ended up going to overseas frames after I left. I mean, he didn't really have money in the works, and I was on my own living in Portland. I needed to make some money. We put out the Stranger video, and it went pretty viral. And then Fit was knocking on the door, and I just went that way, and it actually worked out pretty good. I mean, I got 10 years of life just playing on my bike, traveling the world.
Hell yeah, man. And then you actually went back to Stranger after, things with Fit kind of settled down, I guess. And
well, yeah, the way BMX works, after you get a little older, the shelf life of BMX is not very long. So, and I always told Rich I was going to come back to Stranger after Fit was done. It all worked out perfect.
I think what's so cool is that, you went into Fit knowing that one day, things would slow down a little bit and that you would go back to Stranger, and that you kind of stuck with your word about that, like that is insane. That is so cool. And like, that is the shelf life of BMX, unfortunately. Like, most big name pros, like that were on your level, when it comes to like, the ways that like you were getting pro model bikes, all of that, like everything that goes into being a big name pro, it only lasts, a couple of years. Like, I think 10 years of what you got to do at Fit is incredible. Like, I think a lot of people unfortunately don't get that.
I had a great career. It was amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
I could have stretched it out if I really wanted to try harder, but I knew, like being a grown up, you're not living at home anymore, right? Like you don't have your parents making you food and paying your phone bills and all this stuff anymore. And you have real life, you have real bills, you have all these things. And a pro BMX rider pay isn't enough to live a good life and raise children and own a house and all this stuff. You gotta be Garrett Reynolds and winning contests to be able to have money in your bank account. Because if not, you're going paycheck to paycheck, living out of a backpack, and riding all these free flights to go film for these companies. Like it wears on you and it gets stressful. Like I knew when I was 28, I knew, okay, I'm coming into my 30s. Am I gonna stretch this BMX life out and like ruin my body even more into my later years, or am I gonna figure out level 3? Like start establishing things, getting stuff done. I moved back to my hometown from Hollywood and started a landscape company, and it makes more money than I ever even could have thought of riding BMX bikes. So.
Yeah, and I think a good point that you made there is the fact that like BMX, we don't really have too much money when it comes to the whole industry as a whole. But unless you're a huge mega pro like Garrett Reynolds, but like Garrett,
Exactly.
he owns like Fiend. That's his company, and then also, he has shares in cinema. Like he has put his money into it. And I don't think, like if he didn't own those companies and he was riding for another company, yes, Garrett is known as like the best in the world. But unfortunately, BMX as a whole, we don't have the money to pay the best in the world what they're worth. It's just not a possibility unless that person is able to kind of, come up with a company and make something for themselves. And I think that that's like,
Exactly.
that's a really important thing when it comes to, how much riders are getting paid. Unfortunately, we just can't pay everybody enough. Like, it's just not, I'm sure if we, dude, I'm sure that like if companies could, they would pay all of their riders as much as they possibly could, but they got to keep the doors open. We got to keep the lights on. BMX is,
You got to keep the parts being made. There's a lot that goes into a company.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
With how good the bikes are these days, like kids will ride the same bike for 4 years.
Yeah, I've been riding the same cult frame for like
Skateboarding, you're snapping a board every month at least. If you're a good skater, you're snapping boards all the time. You're always buying product. I know grips and pedals and stuff go out, and that's a good little situation to keep raking in the money. But other than that, like frames last way too long.
yeah, especially when it comes to like new complete bikes. Like I remember getting into BMX around 10 years ago, and I was always buying like parts used from people. So that's kind of cool, right? Like the money does get put back into it because
The
people are
hand-me-downs,
yeah, exactly. But, once I got like my own perfect like bike built up when I worked at a bike shop and I had all these parts and everything, I didn't need a new part for months on end. Like I ended up snapping my frame first, and I've always broke frames rather than like anything else. But yeah, like it really is just one of those things that like the parts are made so well. And that was, you know, 6, 7 years ago when I was constantly breaking frames. I've been riding the same cult frame now for 3 years, and there is no end in sight. Like that frame has been holding up so
exactly.
well. Yeah, and like especially when you bring in the fact that, S&M and Fit, like I'm not too sure if they still make a lot of their Fit product in America, but I do know that mainly everything from S&M is American made, and that is like just a whole other level of care and everything put into a product.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, so
Well, with the way Stranger's doing complete bikes now, is it's all pro model stuff. The complete is around $1,200, but it's everything that we ride, that comes in the box. There's nothing cheap in there.
yeah, it's crazy to see that like, Stranger and a couple other brands are really pushing these like complete bikes, and these complete
high
bikes are
quality
so,
complete.
dude, these complete bikes are so strong. Like, they come with free coasters now, 4 pegs. You know, a lot of them come brakeless, like everything that you could want getting into BMX. And like, even there's some riders that, you know, I've been riding with for close to 10 years, and they don't ride as often as they used to. And they just went out and bought complete bikes instead, like high pro end complete bikes, so that they can ride a couple times a month and just have a nice bike that'll work
Yeah.
every try, you know? And that's rad. That is so
Yeah.
cool. Okay, so one of my favorite BMX frames ever was the Purple Mac frame from the Fit like lineup of bikes in 2013. The color itself was so rad. For those listening, it's like a deep dark translucent purple, a colorway that often isn't really seen. On top of that, you could get the matching bars as well. How involved were you in the process of making these parts?
I was involved from everything. It was all me. Like every color was my choice. My, you know, and then what my completes were based off of was the bikes that I rode. I mean, they just went ahead and looked at the bike that I was riding and then just created that into the complete. So it worked out pretty good until after we started doing completes that were like themed. You know.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the fit themes for bikes that year, I think it was the 2019 like lineup of bikes. I thought that that was the coolest lineup of bikes like ever, because you know, most years people will just go with the colorway that that rider had rode the year before. So oftentimes, you know, you'll see yourself on this awesome purple setup, and then everybody else has that setup a year later, and you have a new setup, which is like, it's still super rad,
Yeah.
right? But like, to have that, like, you know, the Pac-Man bike that you guys did with Fit, I thought that that was so cool, man. Like, that whole year was really rad. They had we were speaking to Joey Baggs last week, and he was talking about the PRK frame, and like that complete bike that they had built him, and it was all Tron themed, and that was super cool. I love that Began,
For that
like
one,
that.
yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, the Began bike was done so well too, like, and then all of the
Down
behind the
back.
scenes stuff, right? Like, just so good.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they had Nordstrom was the Night Rider. We did this huge photo shoot for all of our bikes, and we went and everybody had their own cool themed photo shoot for the bike. It was fun. I ended up getting to drive that Night Rider, the kit car or whatever. I think his name was Kit, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I
Kit.
was doing power breaks in that thing. They rented it from some guy in LA. It had like a replica kit car. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was so rad, man. And even like, you know, getting to drive that car, that's cool. But the whole catalog that, you know, Melissa and Tony had made was incredible. Like, I'm just playing some of those clips from that video on the stream right now, and that is just so rad, you know? So, let's see here. That kid with the Evil Knievel bike, that was insane. I love how far they're like pulling that ramp back. Were you there the whole time?
REA.
Yeah.
His name's REA. He's from my town, Grand Pass. So he's like the next up and coming kid from our area. It's pretty cool.
That's so sick, man. Were you there the entire time that they were doing these shoots, just kind of hanging out, or were you only there the days that?
Oh no, I wasn't there. I wasn't there for the kids shoot. I ended up flying out right after my shoot, but
Yeah.
the whole catalog is real cool. Marketing's tricky, you know. You got to really work at that stuff if you want to do good.
Oh, absolutely. And the marketing for 2019, like that bike lineup was incredible. I love it. Yeah, I'm just gonna pull up the photo shoot that you guys had for you here. Yeah, that was so cool, man. Was there anything in particular that you guys had for maybe like a backup plan if you didn't go with um the Pac-Man bike?
No, that was it. I mean, we work on those. I mean, we were already done with the Pac-Man bike like before the homie came out. You know, we were always like a year or two ahead of
Yeah, that's incredible, man. It does take a lot of time to actually, get these bikes set up and everything. Like, especially when you've got to worry
Yeah.
about the colorways and how, like you said, marketing plays a big role in that.
Oh yeah.
Alrighty here. So, um, I really wanted to talk about Holy Fit. Holy Fit was by far one of the most inspirational videos of like BMX history. It's by far like the lineup in it was incredible. You guys had Brandon Began, yourself, Van Homan, Brian Foster, and just so many more other BMX legends, like just huge names. What was the process like for filming Holy Fit? I know that it took a couple of years to film, probably like I would estimate around 3,
It
right?
took 8 years.
8 years. Holy shit. I had no idea it took that long.
Well, my part was 8 years. I know some dudes were a little shorter. I worked on mine for 8 years, and we unloaded a bunch of stuff for random marketing ads and promos and stuff like that. So, some stuff would run, some good stuff I let go for things like that. And but for most of all, I was just saving all my creme de la creme, and we stacked them up for about 8 years, and then it ended up being like, I think it was about an 8-minute part or so, two song part.
Yeah, it was a 2-song part, and I absolutely love the way that everything was filmed and edited. I think that plays a huge role in how everything is kind of taken, especially when it comes to like if you don't have the right song or the right like clip placement, it can really throw a part off. And as somebody who's like edited and produced 2 full-length videos, that was something that was like so big for me.
Johnson, he's an editing god,
Dude,
He's been doing it.
I own.
And I've been riding. So.
Yeah, exactly. I own Stu's Anthem 2 camera. It's actually sitting right behind me here in the studio. I bought it from Jeff K because Anthem 2 is the video that got me into filming. It got me into really taking BMX and like trying to show people, what my community does.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that's great.
Yeah, man, I'm fucking.
Piece of history there.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I'm like, that video is literally my favorite video of all time. So to be able to own that camera is like, it is honestly such an honor. So, let's jump back into Holy Fit here. So there's a clip at 248 where you do a huge double rail hop off of a steep wheelchair ramp. Did you ever just consider jumping onto the roof? Like, was that an idea at all, or did it not really line up?
No, it lined up. Brad Sims ended up doing it for his X Games part. I don't know if you've seen that, but he jumped onto it, the 360 off.
Oh yeah, I totally have seen that. I thought
that wasn't really my way. I carved to the right, and I don't know. It was a weird get on for me. I just liked the double rail hop. It was cool.
Well, the double rail hop is like your thing.
I definitely thought of it. But yeah, I ended up just taking the double rail hop, and I ended up seeing that. We stopped to get gas off that exit. It was in like Wairika, California or so. And we just stopped for gas, and I seen it. So we ended up just getting a hotel right there. And we checked into the hotel, and then I just went over there and hung out with it for a little bit, had a beer or something, and chilled with it. And then went to bed, woke up at like 7 a.m., and we did it that early. It's pretty gnarly. Got back on the road right after.
Wow, that's incredible, man. It's always like blows my mind to hear these stories behind a clip, like just to think that like you guys randomly found it, got a hotel the next like that day and made it happen in the morning. I think
we got a hotel right next to the spot.
Yeah, that is so rad, dude. Especially because like you're probably in your hotel that night, fucking looking out the window, like, oh man, I gotta do this in the morning. This is gonna be crazy.
Yeah, I was tripping for sure.
It is
especially
like
when I woke up, sometimes you wake up and you just don't feel it, but
yeah,
you gotta push through, not feel it, and just do it.
Yeah, that clip is like so just your style, of just going big and really like just getting shit done. And just to kind of keep on the topic of that, let's talk about your cover shot that you got for the March, April, I believe it was 2014, Ride BMX magazine, where you did the massive double
Yeah.
peg grind across the like huge drop ledge. There's some gnarly cement poles underneath you. The drop
Yeah.
off of that ledge is seriously, it looks like the height of El Toro.
Famous spot.
Yeah, so I think that clip is by far one of the craziest things ever done on a bike, and like it'll be looked at in 50 years as still one of the craziest things ever done on a bike. What's the story behind this clip?
So they stopped it with those yellow poles for skaters hitting the rail, you know.
Yeah.
And I think before those stoppers got put in, Dak went to go film that outlet before they even put those poles in, and he didn't do it. So it's that gnarly, you know. Like,
that is such a great example of just how crazy that setup is, because Dak will do fucking anything. That dude is like seriously one of
exactly. I don't know. He probably just wasn't feeling it that day or something. I don't know, but as soon as the poles showed up, I'm like, wow, like that is amazing. So I hit up Jeff D and I said, yo, I want to do this. We had a trip going on right then. So Van Homan was in town. We had Benny L. We were all there. And I had Van Homan. He was at the top of the stairs. And then I had Benny. He was in the street. And, like, I have to go so far back to get my run up at this thing that I can't see anything. All I'm relying on is Van telling me when I can go. And my knees are weak. I'm, like, super rubbery. And it was gnarly. I took a couple of runs. And, you know, it's that point where you just, like, feel like throwing up kind of, you know.
Oh, absolutely. It would probably be one of the most nerve-wracking things ever.
I just went back and sat there for a second. Van looked at me, said, thumbs up. I blacked out and just pedaled at it and did it. Happened first try. When I was sliding off that ledge and catching the airtime down to the sidewalk, I just like did not want to lose my grip on those handlebars. It was gnarly.
Yeah, I think
I cut myself from my thumbnail on my index finger. I was gripping so hard.
Oh, most likely. Like, that is definitely one of the craziest things ever, and like so cover worthy, you know. Like, before you guys even shot it, did Jeff kind of know that it was going to be like on the cover?
Yeah, we were hunting for a cover for a while. I don't know if you've seen the Portland Scene Report issue of Ride, but I did like this wall ride to drop underneath this underpass of a freeway. It's in my Holy Fifth part, actually.
Oh, that's unreal.
It's like a metal gate that keeps the bums from living underneath the bridge. And I wall rode that gate to drop down into the road.
That is so
like
crazy.
A 10, 12-foot drop or so. But that was supposed to be the cover, but the lettering for Ride BMX was going in and out of the gate that I was wall riding, and it didn't work.
Yeah, I could totally see that. That's and this photo just works so well.
Like, I ride the spot to get the photo. I never really cared about the clip. I was more of like, I want my photo to be sick. The clips, you know, they're always buried somewhere. The photo is like that 1 second in time that just freezes everything, and it's like the sickest part of the clip. So I always got off on getting sick photos, you know.
Yeah, you actually make a really good point there, because I think that like with the death of print media, a lot has really changed in the way that, like, you know, unfortunately photos are kind of a thing of the past when it comes to BMX. And like, I'm actually working on releasing a like photo book from a bunch of just different underrated photographers and riders from throughout the world. Like, I had a couple guys send some stuff from Scotland. There's some other local stuff, like local to Toronto area where I'm from. Some of the photos that I've taken are going to be in there, but it's just because it's one of those things that I love, is just having a physical copy of something. And I think that itself, you know, if I do this a couple times a year, maybe people would really enjoy and want to actually like get a cover photo. You know, that's something that a lot of people
Yeah.
don't really get an opportunity to do.
I mean, yeah, not everybody was hunting for a cover, really. If you were in the game and you were a pro rider, that was like what you were striving out to get was a cover.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah,
Some people got several covers. You know, it's pretty cool. I got my one, and I was happy with it.
yeah,
I even saved the bike that I was riding, so I have that bike with the cover up in my living room.
yeah. I love your setup, by the way, of like where you've got all of your like BMX memorabilia. I think that that's just so rad. Like such a perfect spot for it. I think a lot of people would just like waste that space or just put something like, you know, not necessarily as rad as that up there.
Yeah, when I bought the house, I was like, wow, like my bikes will fit up there perfect.
Yeah, that's so
Kind
sick,
of what
man.
sold me on the house.
That's so rad. So let's talk about your last clip in Holy Fit. I personally think that this shows how talented you are as a BMX rider and just how persistent you are when it comes to landing something that you have in mind. The setup itself is a lot safer than most of the clips, especially the ones that we talked about earlier, like the huge double peg drop that we were just on. However, the level of skill it takes to grind two huge 20 stair rails with a 6 foot gap in between them is just unbelievable, you know? And like those steps too, they're handicap steps. So it's more like 40 stairs each, like in reality, you know, they're just mellower rails.
It was like we were driving by that school and we were like, oh, there's nothing really there. And I seen the rails like over the hill, like I could just see the top of one of the rails. I was like, let's just pull in. I want to go look back there, and we did. And I seen that. I'm like, no way, like this is insane. It was like Vegas heat. It was like 80, 90 degrees out in the summer in Vegas, and I just started giving it a go. Actually, Stu was like, if you land this first try, I'll give you $100. I was like, boom, deal, let's get it. It did not work out first try. Obviously, it was just too hard to. I mean, it could have obviously, but it didn't. I worked for that one for sure.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, we ended up getting it within like an hour. I think it was about an hour. I ended up pulling it. Everybody was psyched. Lots of get offs, lots of weird get offs. I think I rolled my ankle once. Yeah, it was a struggle, but I had to get that for sure. I kind of knew like that was gonna be my last clip. It was like one of the last trips that we had before he went into editing for the video. So
yeah, that's just so wild. Like just watching that clip blows my mind. Yeah, so something that I kind of want to point out here is the fact that, you know, you're in crazy Vegas heat, you're 30 tries deep, and you're also filming a full-length video at the time. So this is something where you guys are on a trip. This is where, you know, everybody else also needs to be getting clips. Like you've got all this pressure on you getting this clip, you know? You managed to pull it off so clean, and I don't think that you could have done it any better, to be honest with you. Like it's just the perfect like make. So when you're
there was like a couple where I made the gap and I was like, okay, this is on, you know.
Yeah,
I made it to the other rail like two times before I landed it.
So what are some of the things that you would say helped you when you're 20, 30 tries deep at just making sure you got this clip? Was there anything in mind other than just, you know, we need to get this? Is there anything that you kind of do to go to a place where you can really just focus in on that?
I kind of just stop thinking, you know, I just black out kind of. I don't think about anything at all. And I just hop on the rail. I just try to get on the rail straight. With a rail to rail, I just try to get on the rail straight as I can in the first one and see if I'm dialed for the gap. If I ain't dialed for the gap, I always have to bail.
Yeah, I think something that I want to point out is the fact that I really can't think of anybody else in the BMX industry that does rail to rails, especially on massive down rails, you know, like that is your signature trick. Like so many of your like clips have been insane rail to rail grinds, like the one in Brighton Aint Ready too. And then also earlier in the fit part, the white one that you did, that white kinker. That is just such a
Yep.
crazy setup. What was the first like rail to rail gap that you ever did?
That white one in Greece was it was in Greece. I was on a trip with Benny L, and it was just him and I with Jeff D. And it was, I had to fly out. I had to catch my flight in like 6 hours or something. So I'm like standing at the top of this rail, like, if I get buckled up, I'm not gonna make my flight. Like, this is gonna be crazy, you know. I'm like, I just have to slap myself in the face and go, dude, like, you're leaving. This is it. Like, you might as well try to get it right now. It's all you got. You ain't never coming back here. Just do it. And it all just worked out so perfect. I was so pumped I actually went for that one.
That was first try, was it not?
Oh yeah, first try. Most of my stuff was first try if it was big.
Yeah, I was gonna say there really isn't a second try, especially on that white one. You know, with the gap in between there, it's literally the size of a peg. Like if you catch your peg,
Yeah,
you're going over.
If you don't land it, you're hurt for sure.
Oh fuck yeah. Yeah, I just think that's so fucking wild, man. Like that is just such a crazy clip. Do you know of anybody that does rail to rail gaps like that? Or like I don't know.
I stole it from snowboarders.
Oh, that is such a, funny thing. Like I feel like a lot of us kind of take stuff from skateboarding or snowboarding or anything like that. It's always funny to see that. Like I get really inspired by like every year my favorite event on top or like just underneath Real BMX Street is like the Real snowboarding clips that they do for X Games. Those edits are fucking wild, dude. Snowboarding is literally like balls to the wall at all times, at 11, like constantly, just insane.
Totally. I met a lot of cool snowboarder pros when I was coaching BMX camp at Wendell Camp right next to Mount Hood up in Oregon.
That's so rad, man.
So I kind of grew up wanting to be a snowboarder because I'm from Oregon. There's all kinds of mountains to snowboard and stuff. It's kind of too expensive for my family to put me through snowboarding.
Yeah.
You got to pay for everything and get to the mountain all the time and stuff.
Yeah, that is kind of the thing, right? Like when it comes to BMX, the thing I love about it is that it's just so free. Like you can buy a bike and you're set. That's it. Like that's all you need. You might need a couple bucks to buy tubes or, if you want to travel, you'll have to have those expenses covered. But like realistically, BMX is pretty cheap. Like after buying a bike and everything.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Yeah. Snowboarding and any like sports like that cost a fuck ton of money.
Because like my kids, obviously we ride BMX, but I don't really push them to that level of, going hard on BMX. We're racing dirt bikes, like I'm spending over $100,000 a year just for him to race dirt bikes. It's not cheap. It's insane. Like I'm driving 30, 40 hours to take him to the biggest national race of his life, Loretta Lynn's, 20,000 people try to make it to this race. Only 1,500 people make it, and he made it. So we're driving. Like, it's insane what you have to do. I mean, like, obviously I want him to do good.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm giving him all the tools he needs to succeed. And that's all it really takes. A little bit of knowledge here and there.
Yeah. Your kid is a shredder, dude. Like I was watching dude, I was watching some clips from Instagram earlier and your kid is unreal, dude. He's like 6 years old jumping a spine.
Pop down.
Yeah. Yeah, that is like
have some of the sickest stuff in the game.
That's so dope, man. So he's into like motocross then.
Yeah, he's racing motocross.
How did you guys get him into that? Because I would assume that, like, obviously you guys would have had to get him on a dirt bike for the first time.
Yeah, well, the day he got off training wheels on his BMX bike, started riding a BMX bike with no training wheels, I brought home a dirt bike, and I just sent him down the driveway, and he went down into the road, crashed, picked him up. He didn't ride for like a month after that.
Wow. That is so sick.
Wanted to get on.
That is so cool, man. I think like you and Pat Casey are probably some of the coolest dads in the BMX world. Like Pat just lets his kids go fucking nuts, man. Like Reed is so young and just like, you know, ripping dirt bikes all the time. My buddy Jordan, he actually he built Pat Casey's backyard ramp, and he was telling me all the crazy stories of just like him going over there and seeing this kid just going nuts, like constantly doing something.
Yeah, it's pretty rad, you know, like as long as you want to give your kid the life that you wanted when you were a kid, I feel like that's everything, you know, like that's you're like keeping your legacy alive, you know.
Well, I think an important thing too is the fact that you and Pat and like anybody else that lets their kids get into dirt biking or doing the stuff that they want, you guys are letting these kids live, you know? There's too many parents nowadays that just baby their kids. Like, I don't know. I feel like if your kid was at the skate park and he fell, he's not going to cry and you're not going to go running over, because that's part of life. That's part of riding. That's part of all of this. Like,
he's one of the toughest dudes right now. He's only 6 years old.
Fuck yeah.
Like, he's 7 now. But yeah, he's one tough kid.
That's awesome, man. So has BMX like really changed since you had kids?
Totally, yeah. I mean, I don't really like. I'm not day to day with BMX anymore. You know, my kid will be on YouTube, and you know, I'll come in the room, he'll show me some new stuff or whatever. But we just actually went. Him and I were up in Seattle for a motocross race, and we ended up going and linking up with Hoder and the S&M and Fit guys. They had a house up there, so we went and rode with them. And you know, my kids, we left the Airbnb and went and rode street through downtown Seattle. We did like a 25-mile round trip through the city, and he just handled it like a boss.
Hell yeah. That's awesome, man. You were saying that
you're old together. He has a little brother now, and he's into bikes just as much. He's always trying to get on a bike and hold handlebars and make noises, jump around. So,
wow, that is.
I'm letting him live the legacy of his biological father, and you know, everybody in the sport knew him, so we kind of get red carpet everywhere we go. It's really awesome. We get a lot of help. Because without that help, it's kind of impossible to do all this.
Yeah. Wow, that's a really inspiring story, dude. Honestly, like it takes a real like man to step up and be willing to do that position, you know? Like I know so many people that like, you know, I've like literally stopped being friends with these people because of their decisions as like, you know, fathers, and I just don't agree with it at all. Like they literally, the one guy got a girl pregnant and then just left her like at the hospital. He was like, "No, I'm done." Like that is the most fucked up thing I've ever heard, you know? Like especially as a son of like, you know, when I was super young, my parents split, and like I don't remember a time them ever being together, but I knew every Sunday that my dad would come to visit me, you know? Like he lived 3-4 hours away, and he would always make that trip just to see me and my little sister, and like that meant so much to me, you know? And that is like, your story is like leaps and bounds, so like you're giving so much to him, and that is amazing, you know? Like really props on you, dude. That is by far one of the most like, yeah, that is super inspiring.
I'll just do everything I can so he can live the life that he was supposed to live.
Absolutely.
I'm just filling in for a higher power, you know?
Yeah, exactly, man. That's incredible. Yeah. So not to move on from that or anything, but I would love to chat about your part in Brighton Aint Ready. So that video is actually like probably one of the most watched videos on YouTube for like a full length, at least, with 1.4 million views. So,
Yeah, pretty
you
crazy.
know,
I haven't seen that one in a while.
yeah, I think that everybody who has ever filmed a video part has some clips that are, underrated or kind of forgotten over time. I think in your video part, one of those clips would be the ledge manual to rail manual to ledge mani again. This clip just goes by so fast. There's only one shot of it, but the amount of precision it takes to keep the balance, like going from a ledge to a rail like that, is incredible. So, is there any backstory behind filming that clip? And it probably was filmed in the UK, right? Because that is where a lot of that video was filmed, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, the whole video was filmed in Brighton.
Yeah.
Everybody just flew in at different times and stayed at the flat and got their stuff done. I was there with Adam 22, Stevie, Caleb Quandek. It was the Primo guys. I was there with Primo. So, yeah, I think there was like 6 of us in the house at the same time. Pretty sure.
Wow, that must have been a party, hey?
Yeah, it was good. We were there during Gay Pride, so like the streets were just full of humans and just partying, and it was awesome. Oh, I was there with AK. Yeah, me and AK, we had a little night of our own. We went out together and went to some clubs, and it was fun.
That's so rad. What was it like knowing Adam 22 before, a lot of the fame that he's got now?
Before he got famous.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really chat with him too much anymore, but I mean, he was one of my best friends when I started down there. Like, I rode for the Come Up, and it was right after the football DVD came out. I moved in with them down in Long Beach. David Grant and I were sharing a room. It was great times, man. We did so much stuff. It was just like, I lived like a kid with an allowance, like getting paid from bike companies. So it was like every day was just a fun day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so crazy to see how far Adam has gone, like I think it's honestly really rad. Like he did a lot for BMX, and like such a solid dude.
Totally.
Like everything that I've heard from, people that know him, like Denham Cox and Ethan Courier, everybody like that, like, yeah, always good things,
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah,
I think he let us live in his house. Like, we didn't pay rent, nothing, we just lived in Long Beach.
Yeah, that's wild, eh?
He's one of the reasons how I got so big, being like under his wing, and he was running the Come Up, being able to be like one of the star writers for the Come Up, always having your videos at the top of the post and stuff, how they used to sticky them for a day or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing that people see, right? Like,
yeah, not too many people were able to be sticky like that on them for 24 hours on their video. That's what gave you like so many views.
Yeah, absolutely. So unfortunately, the Come Up has gone since then. Unfortunately, like I don't think that they're doing anything with it anymore.
Everybody has their time, everybody has their own time.
Yeah.
It's always revolving, everything's gonna, there's always gonna be new people that want to do better,
Yeah, and I think that like what he's doing with No Jumper is like, I think that that's his thing, like he's always been into.
It's like what he wanted to do with the Come Up, but now he's doing it on a bigger scale. He has more human contact than BMX even has in existence. So it's just, he's very smart, he knows what he's doing, and he's one of the best guys at marketing. So
yeah, he's absolutely brilliant when it comes to marketing. Like, just insane, But yeah, so after that last clip there, you do a caveman into this crazy triple kinked down ledge. Was that something that kind of just happened in the moment, or did you like already get
all
sent
all
that.
the clips in Brighton were in the moment, all of them.
Wow.
So that one, we were actually just eating at that little cafe, and I look over, I'm like, damn, that's big. I was like, well, what could I do on it? And I seen the little awning. I'm like, well, I could probably ninja into that. I don't know I don't know if I'm gonna get bucked on that kink or not, but let's just go. And I just, I'm always the guy that's like, yo, let's just set up, and if I don't do it, like, fuck you,
Yeah.
Like, that's my deal. So let's just set up. But usually, once everybody was set up and I'm at the top of whatever I'm at, I'm gonna go for it, But sometimes, there's been times where I walk away from stuff for sure, but most of the time it's pretty much just like set up. I'll go right around the block. I'll come back when you guys are ready with a fresh mind and just go.
Yeah, and I think whenever people do kind of walk away from a clip, I think that that's a lot better than trying it and, getting really fucking hurt or like anything like that. Like that's the last thing you want,
You're trying to go for longevity, you don't want to get hurt, especially when you're on a trip super far away from your home.
Oh, of course. Yeah, this is just such a crazy setup. Like you end up going off the flat of the like bottom ledge there.
I ended up running into all of the chairs and stuff at the cafe.
Oh, that is so wild. Yeah, I like just saw that now actually. Was your plan like did you just have to go off of that? Like there was no way that you were going to make it onto that next ledge?
Yeah, I didn't know. I was like maybe I'll manual it or something, but I ended up just getting fucked too far and I just had to gap the whole thing.
Yeah, that clip is awesome though. Like it turned out really well with the gap off of there. I think it just adds like so much more to that clip.
Yeah, totally. It's definitely a good one for sure.
Yeah. And of course, we can't end this off without talking about one of like the, top 5 things that you've ever done on a bike, in my opinion, which is the rail to rail gap for your ender here. This is also, of course, first try. Nobody does it like you. First try all the time, eh?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So this clip here.
Never trying to work too hard,
Yeah. This clip here, the security actually showed up like right as you were about to hit it. Am I right?
Yeah, it kind of helped me out in a sense. I was sitting up there for a bit, and I'm like, that was one of the things where I'm like, yo, you guys want to just set up? We'll see what happens or whatever. And I was kind of like in pure defeat, like, I don't know if I want to fucking try this because I gotta fly home the next day or whatever, It was close to the end of the trip, and I'm like, fuck, And I'm sitting there, I put my head down on my handlebars, and I'm just like, am I not gonna do this? Like, what the fuck, Shawn? And I look down, I see an ant crawling underneath my bike, and he has this huge chunk of food, like 10 times the size of his body. And I'm like, well, like this fool is just working, like he's doing what he needs to do. And I looked up at everybody and I'm just like, well, I kind of got my motivation from that ant, And I looked at everybody and then the cops showed up and they were like doing the cutthroat thing. They're like, nah, cut it,
Yeah.
And I just looked at everybody like, go, going. And I just turned around, got on the rail. It happened. Fucking done so. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, I think what's so cool about that clip too is that after you pull it, you run over to the security guards, and I think the first guy, you literally shook his hand and you were like, "Thank you." Like you actually.
Were so pumped. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool to see security like not freak out. Like they were actually so hyped that you just did that. Like that is probably.
They were totally hating before they seen what happened. Then they seen it and they're like, "Oh wow, okay, this ain't no joke. Like these ain't just some kids playing around."
Yeah. Yeah, that's always like something kind of cool, eh? Like if you show up to a spot, you could literally tell people like, "Don't worry, I'm a pro rider. Like I got this,"
Yeah, but it usually doesn't work if you say that. They gotta just see it, and then they're like, "Damn!" Then they give you like props. They're like, "Wow!" They give you credit,
Yeah, absolutely. There was a clip that we were filming for one of my full length videos, and we're like at this setup, and my buddy is trying to truck driver this stair set, and the building manager comes out, and he's just looking around, like looking at us, and I ask him, I'm like, "Hey, man, like, is everything cool? Like, are we good to be here?" He's like, "Oh yeah, you're fine." Like, I actually just told security like not to come by just because I wanted to watch you guys do this. So we get him at the bottom of the stair set, like, watching for people. And then security shows up and they're like, "Hey, Jason, he's good, right? Like, these guys are fine." Like, "Oh, yeah, don't worry about it." I was like, that is so fucking cool. How often does that happen, right? Where, like, just
Yeah, it's
that
always
person is
really
so into
cool
it.
when you have those cops that are not trying to be the hero, and they're just like, okay, these kids are having fun. They're not fucking shit up. They're not doing drugs. They're just like exerting themselves this way. Like, let them be, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Um,
Most
yeah,
cops won't recognize that.
yeah, exactly. So, I think we kind of touched on this earlier, but what rail came first? Was it the white one in Holy Fit, or was it the one at the end of your Brighton section?
It was, damn. You know, I think Greece was before Brighton, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I could see
Yeah,
that.
I don't know. It's a close call. I get all my stuff mixed up, you know. It's been so long.
Oh, exactly.
It's been like 4 years since I really like did anything on a bike. It seems like I broke my leg on that rail to rail filming for the Triptape. I don't know if you've seen my B side, but it was one of the biggest rail to rails ever. I mean, it was low. It was a big gap. It was like an 8 foot gap in between rails, and it was like a super high speed setup. And I just got messed up, put my foot down, and snapped my ankle. Well, the bone above my ankle. But I had Ty Morrow and I had fucking Coder, and they were big boys. You know, I weighed 200 pounds. You know, I needed somebody big to pick me up. So they threw me in the car and got me to the hospital so I can go get surgery. But that was crazy. That was I was playing with fire with all those rail to rails, but everyone I seen I wanted to touch. You know, if it looked physically possible, I wanted.
Yeah, and I think that you actually pulled off like, a good majority of them and really like did them perfectly. And unfortunately, BMX is just that game where like, it can happen at any point. Like we had Joey Baggs on last week and we were talking about how he broke his leg earlier this year, like I think back in December. But his recovery time was so fast. Like he literally was back on a bike in like 3 months. What was your recovery time
Yeah,
like?
it all depends on the break, you know. But I had to have plates and stuff put in. I was like a few months out, but then the car that I was driving at the time was a manual, and I couldn't drive it, so I was on my moped, right,
Yeah.
with a broken leg, and I'm coming down a gravel driveway on my moped, and I'm ripping. The car comes around the corner that I'm coming around, and I locked up the front brake and washed out and broke my other ankle. So I was crawling to the bathroom after that. Like, it was fucked. Like,
Jesus, that is so rough, man. I had an ankle injury probably about like 8 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, maybe. Um, and I never went to the hospital for it just because I knew it wasn't a break. It was probably just a really bad like sprain or something. And I went to a jam just to kind of hang out there. And there was a BMX rider who was a paramedic, and he was like, "You 100% should have went because the whole side of your foot is like black right now, and it's probably like it was." He was saying it was probably a specific break where like you pull the skin, and it actually like breaks a piece of the bone off or something. And I don't know. I've been riding now, so like it probably was just a really bad sprained ankle. But I have a tendency to knock all
yeah,
my
I
teeth
got
out.
I
So
got floaters in my elbow and little bone chips floating around in my elbow.
yeah,
You set your elbow down on something wrong, and it just goes, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think everybody that rides BMX probably has like one of those injuries that like, you know, is just really rough.
Totally.
Like I think that if you call yourself a BMX rider, you most likely have one of those bad injuries at some point, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah. So from what I've heard, you actually ride a lot more skate parks now, right?
Well, yeah, I got kids. Like if we're going to a dirt bike race, it's like 5 hours away or something. I kind of leave like a day early so we can break up the drive and hit some parks, maybe even ride some streets. Like
Yeah,
I always
exactly.
try to I always try to keep my kid on the BMX bike as well. It builds all kinds of weird things that play into motocross as well. So balance is key. Always balancing and always being on something. Is way better than not.
Yeah, and I
And
think
I
it,
don't push him on the BMX bike at all, so he kind of excels a little more. I think.
hell yeah. I was gonna say I think that like, if you look at the last few years, some of the biggest names in BMX, a lot of those people were into BMX racing or motocross. Like look at Drew Bezanson. That dude is a huge
Yeah, he's
motocross
sick
dude.
on a
Like
dirt bike.
we'll just jump back into things here. Sorry about that. So, as someone who's known for sending the biggest tricks on the biggest setups, what are your thoughts on street riding, where we are seeing a shift more towards slower tech tricks on smaller setups? Don't get me wrong, I still think there's a bunch of people like still sending it in the streets. Like, Denim Cox is the first name that comes to mind when I think about that nowadays.
Dude, that Boyd kid is crazy.
Yeah, Hilder is nuts. That guy is so
And then I've
unbelievable.
been seeing like some random kids get gnarly bangs. I don't even know their names. I just see it on like the BMX Instagram sometimes. I'm like, damn, kids are still getting down. That's sick.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Do you agree that we are seeing kind of a shift towards, like slower, techier riding, or we did at least?
I know that it was like totally going that way, and I feel like there's kids out there right now that are like stepping their game up and getting bangers done.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, for sure, like popularity wise, slower technical riding and like long lines, it got really popular.
Yeah, and I kind of think that we are seeing a shift back towards like, the send it kind of attitude. Like there's definitely some shit going down.
Totally, yeah.
I think
Like somebody did like a tire ride on a rail. I
oh
don't know who that was.
that was a few years back, and that was his name's Max. He's from Russia, and he rides for the company Stress BMX, and that shit
Yeah, I love
was,
seeing stuff like that.
dude, that shit was fucked. I could not believe that he
I
did
always
that.
wanted to do a tire ride, and I never did one.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, definitely like some crazy shredders out there nowadays. Did you ever film anything in El Toro? I feel like that's kind of the thing for a lot of people nowadays is like they have to get a trick at El Toro.
I've never even been to El Toro.
Really? Yeah. You must have been so close too because you were in LA when you
Oh, I
filmed a
was,
bunch of
yeah,
that stuff.
I was close, but never went. I was never the guy that wanted to go do something on a blown out spot.
Yeah,
I always
that
wanted to
completely
like
makes sense.
make a spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, what was it like to ride at Simple Session? I feel like that would just be such a crazy experience riding with literally the best people in the world, like, at this
First of
one
all,
event.
the flight there is like 15 hours or something. So
Oh
as soon
my
as you get off your
God.
flight, you're like, it's super cold. You're all messed up from jet lag, and you got to try to like get onto a schedule to where you can even perform for that place. But yeah, it was insane. Like it was one of the funnest contests I've ever rode.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. Every year that event just seems to get better and better,
And the after parties are always crazy.
Oh my God. Yeah. There's a local from Estonia that I had like I did an interview with where we basically wrote an article for my website and we talked about the parties and whatnot, and it was pretty crazy. He was saying that like, you know, think of pretty much anything and it was done at those parties.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, so
crazy. There's wild times there for sure.
While we're on the topic of, you know, like riding with some of the best in the world at Simple Session, I would love to talk about your experience filming you know, the Triptape with, you know, some of the best street riders in the world, Ty Morrow, Garrett Reynolds, Augie Simoncini, like literally some of the best riders. Is it stressful knowing that your clips kind of have to hold up to their riding? I mean, your riding still, like, it always holds up, but I just feel like when you're dealing with so many, like, next level riders like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, the trip is, it's all friends. We're all friends. There was nothing even about that. It was like, you know, we all have our own different style of riding and our own, you know, we all work together very well to get our things accomplished. It was, that was one of the best times of my life, was going out with those guys and filming at night and going on missions throughout the city. And it was great. Like, Ty's my best friend. Like, we still talk like once a week. Every week we talk. But yeah, like, I lived at Ty's house for a little bit after I broke up with a chick I was dating with down there. So then I ended up moving home after done, and pretty much called everything a wash. Was pretty much done with my career at that point.
Yeah. So I would love to talk about your ender for this video part. And I gotta say, this clip will, you know, always hold to the test of time. Like, it is just so insane. And, you know, I'm more interested on how you guys found this setup, because, like, it is crazy. So I'll play the clip here for everybody. But, yeah, if you want to talk about this huge rail hopped double peg grind that you did.
Yeah, well, it was a block away from the house I lived at with Tony Nyer, Augie Simoncini, Aaron Brenner. He was our team manager for Primo. Yeah, we all lived in the same house together, and it was only a block away, right next to the market that we always went to. So there was countless nights where I was, you know, drunk after the bar or whatever, and I'd walk by and I'd go up and sit out on the stairs and look at it. And it was always in the back of my mind. I think I made an appointment with Jeff D to shoot the photo, and obviously Ty was going to film it for the Triptape. And he was like a month out at the time, so I had to wait an entire month so I can even get the appointment with Jeff D to shoot the photo. And then finally, that appointment came around, and it was about 10 o'clock in the morning. I just woke up. I rode the flat rail in front of the house at Ty's, and I did a couple of hops to grinds onto the flat rail, and we went there. And actually, Nathan Williams, I seen him at the bar the night before. I told him what I was doing, and he was like, he really wanted to be there and support me through that. And Corey Martinez was there, Tony and I mean, there was a huge crew that showed up to watch that go down. And it helped in a sense, you know. It was obviously more stressful having people there, but in the end result, when I rode away from it, it was epic. Like, I had everybody there, and it was just, vibes were just off the hook.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you can see everybody in the background and Ty's fisheye shot there. And it's just so crazy, you know? Like, that setup alone is like, nobody would touch that, you know? Like, it's so insane to think that you're going to hop over a rail from a gap already and then into into the like rail, but on the wrong side. Like, there's just so much that could go wrong at any minute, but you literally pulled it off perfectly.
Definitely one of my favorite setups I've ever touched.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think honestly, like, it's one of those clips that it'll really hold up because of the fact that had you, you know, God forbid, but had you missed a peg, like the front peg on that, that would have been fucking life altering. Like,
dreadful.
Yeah, that could have been really bad. And like the fact that you're able to pull through that is insane. Like there's just so much stress that goes into that. So props to you, man. That is seriously probably one of the craziest clips that will ever be done on a bike as well.
Yeah, I was super pumped on that. I always put a lot of stress on myself with the things that I captured on film. I always wanted them to be like stuff that just could hold time.
Oh, of course. Did you take many run-ups at it? I don't know if we talked about that.
Yeah, I took a couple of run-ups. I started left foot forward, and I kept like coming up short with my footing so I started right foot forward, and I got one crank in, and then I was ready, set up for the bunny hop left foot forward to make it. It was a little tricky, but I had to move some people's stuff out of the way on their front porch.
Yeah, of course. And that is like, I'm sure that's fine with them after seeing that. Like that is just so crazy. Um, I would love to talk about your Primo part as well. So the Primo 2014 part that you had, there is, the opening clip is just so cool. And I think the backstory on it is even better. So for a lot of people, they might not know this, but the top angle that you see first was actually filmed by a security guard at the spot. And then the bottom angle was filmed by, and am I right, Began?
Aaron Brenner.
Okay, sorry. But yeah, it was filmed by Aaron. So how did you find this ledge setup? Like, I thought I had heard that you guys kind of joked about hitting that ledge at one point and then just went and looked at it.
Well, I think like a month or two before I was with David Grant, and I just like put my bike up there and rode down the ledge and got like an Instagram photo or something.
Yeah.
And it's really high to get onto for sure. Like it was like a foot or two above handlebars, so I had to like gap down a little bit. And it was intense. I just knew I was trying to win a Nora Cup. Really, I was trying to go for best web video part of the year, and I was nominated for best DVD part of the year as well. Van Homan got that, and Garrett got the web video part of the year.
But it's so,
I worked for it, never got it, but it's all good. That's the name of the game.
Yeah, it's awesome that you actually, went for that though, and that you like, you were on that list with literally two of the best riders in the world, Van Homan and Garrett. Like, I don't think you can beat that. To be on that same list as them is, already pretty insane.
Yeah, just getting nominated for two things at the same Nora Cup same year was amazing.
Yeah, of course. So how did you guys get this clip from the security guard? Like, what went down? Did he come over afterwards?
Yeah, he came over. He's like, I got this on my phone. I was like, yo, text me that.
That is awesome, eh? Yeah, I think you've got to be one of the only people that got a security guard to film a like actual opening clip for a video part.
Yeah, right? I was pumped on that. Super chill. That was the Staples Center.
That's what I thought. I was pretty sure.
On the side of the famous Staples Center ledge that like Edwin double pegged back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, it is just so crazy, man. It is seriously, it looks like probably 35, 40 stairs. Like, just so crazy.
Definitely a fun, wild ride on that one. I think I almost lost my back peg off of it once. I like slipped and I held it. When I landed, I was so juiced.
Oh yeah, understandably, right? Like you're just so stoked here. I love it. And then at I believe it was 3:26 in this video part, there's a really interesting clip that I really liked, which was it's a double peg grind to tires on this railway of a bridge. I just think that the clip itself is so cool because it's literally like in the middle of nowhere in this little looks like a little pathway kind of thing, at like a park maybe, but there's a building behind it actually, so maybe not. But yeah, it's just so cool that there's these huge trees and all this like mulch and everything. You got a river underneath there. When did you guys kind of find this setup? And was this like the first thing you had in mind, or was there anything else you kind of wanted to do on it?
Oh, it was like a down rail to a wooden bench thing over a creek.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That was at a college randomly. I think NorCal, like UC Davis, I believe. I'm not sure, but yeah, I just seen that. I was like, dude, this is my shit. I'm from Oregon. This is like trees and a rail, and it's just so cool. I was thinking about like dropping to grind, but it wasn't gonna grind. The wood wasn't gonna grind. So, and then I thought about like doing a trick off, and I was like, that's just like too much. I just get styly off of it.
It honestly, I've loved the choice of like just doing a tires and then kind of, get some style going off of there. I love that. I think that was perfect. Like anything else, and it probably would have been a little much, but this is one of those clips where you really just take in everything that's going on, and like, that's something that I always want when I'm filming something. Is I always want like a nice, crazy background going on, or just something that like is appealing to the eyes, I guess.
Yeah, I ended up losing my bike in the creek there. I ended up going down to pegs and going over the bars and barely hanging onto that wood rail and not falling in the creek. My bike went.
God, that's crazy, eh?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, was that like a second try, third try kind of deal?
Yeah, it took a couple tries getting on the rail perfectly straight to be able to get to the tires.
Yeah, and like we're looking here and you can see that the rail is off, like, it's actually better set up to do like a pegs to feeble grind than it is pegs to tires, I think. Just because the like wooden rail is set back a couple inches, it looks like, from the like steel rail.
Yeah, you had to like hop over a little bit.
Yeah. And then of course, we've got to talk about the next clip here, which is your ender, where you did pegs on this huge kinked rail to ice pick on the last one. I think that this is like, again, one of those clips that'll always just be looked at. Like, it's so crazy. I remember watching this for the first time like years ago and just being blown away,
Yeah, I ran into that and it was getting dark and everybody was like, yo, we only have like probably 20 minutes or so to get this before the cameras aren't even going to pick up the light, You can't really tell in the footage because the cameras were so good, but it was pretty dark. And I kept getting on it, couldn't do it. And then finally it just went. And I was straight as an arrow and I stabbed that ice and I was just so pumped because like the camera guys were literally like, yo, like this is probably the last one. And I was like, okay. And it all happened. That's why you see like such a glorified, everybody was so pumped. Ender.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I think that's kind of the way to end a video part, And then your last clip there would be the caveman to pegs.
Yeah. That was at a police station downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah, that is like just such a crazy clip, especially because it's at a police station as well. And the fact that it's like...
I think the only person to ever do something like that was Chester Blacksmith.
Yeah, that is seriously like it is definitely a call straight to him. Like that is definitely something that he would be doing. I love it. That's for sure. Yeah, so we've talked about quite a bit of your filming and like the video parts that you've had. And what do you think would be your best video part that you ever, made? Like it features your best riding or anything. Like personally, I would think that it would be a Holy Fit, but that's just me.
Yeah, that is definitely a good one. I worked really hard on that one, and but I would have to say I'm pleased with. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but when I rode for Coalition, like before I was on Stranger actually. Before I even rode for Fit, I went on a Coalition trip, and we were on a trip for like I think 15 days, and I filmed a full part for them.
Hell yeah.
Smoke and Mirrors. Have you ever seen that part?
I have not, and I feel really bad about that because it's definitely probably crazy. I'll have to check it out afterwards, but
And then Coalition Spring Gent. That was a good one. I don't know if you've probably seen the photos on my Instagram, but I did like the big out rail with the hole in it. It's like a red building. It's at a school.
Yeah, I'll try and pull that up right now, actually.
It's a big flat rail to gap drop thing, and then I did a gap to rail to hop over a fence into the parking lot. There's a big sequence of it that Brandon Means shot.
Yeah, you love the sequence photos, eh? Like, there's quite a few on there, but I think it just works so well with your riding. Like, just the way that you ride is perfect for sequence shots. I have a lot of friends who, like, you know, I can shoot them and edit all that stuff, but a lot of the times they just don't look good. But with you, like, literally everyone is just as great as the last.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm keen to photos. I love photos. So that was when I look at spots. I look at, is that going to be a sick photo?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it right now. Is it the one where you're in a red shirt, you do a red rail over a fence? I think that's a different part.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, I'll show that right now. Yeah, that is so crazy, man. Especially because you're going over a fence. What do you think the scariest thing you ever filmed was?
Scariest?
Yeah.
They're all pretty gnarly. Do you know the gap to nose manual in my Holy Fit part, like on the dumpster ledge thing?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think
that Doyle manualed it.
That's what I was gonna say. Doyle manualed it. We had Doyle on like forever ago, and we talked about that. Yeah, that
was one of the scariest things I did.
Yeah,
it was right after the hop in people hop out drop, so it was like in the same parking lot, and I filmed that hop in people to hop out over the L drop, and then we just went right down to that, and I did the gap to nose like within like 10 minutes.
Wow, that is crazy to get two.
We got in the car and drove off.
Yeah, to get two huge clips like that in one day is insane.
Yeah, it was all before breakfast.
Jesus Christ, man. Yeah, and just the gap to it alone is so crazy.
Yeah, I think I gapped the tires it once, I'm pretty sure, and then I was like, all right, I'm just going to poke the nose, and it worked out. It was great.
Hell yeah,
Super
dude.
Scary. Going full speed of that thing.
Oh, understandably. You know, like that is so crazy. Just having a hard time trying to find it here in the footage, but yeah. Yeah, that clip is so wild. So a while back, you posted a list of spots and tricks that you wanted to get for a new fit part, and after, I believe after that, you had actually, parted ways with Fit. Did you ever check anything off that list?
I think I started to. I think I got a couple of things, and my buddy filmed them. I don't even think any of those clips are out. I have a lot of footage that's never been seen with my buddy, and he kind of fell out of BMX, and all those tapes are probably just old and dusty somewhere stuffed in a closet. It'd be cool to get those things out, put together, but
yeah, I hope that you can. I hope you can get those back. It's definitely one of those things that, like, it sucks to lose footage like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always hard doing stuff with filmers, and you don't really know if the filmer's going to be fully into it.
Yeah.
Or trust their angles and stuff like that. You got to trust the filmer so much if you're doing stuff at a caliber that high.
Oh, absolutely. Like, how upsetting would it be if you, like, got that and then the shot just isn't right, it just isn't the perfect shot. That's kind of something that you do not want. Like, That's something you do not want to have to deal with at all.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if you know, it's like that roof, the slanted roof that I rolled into and hopped over the shed thing into the little slope. It was at like a Dollar Tree.
Yep. Yeah, I know the clip you're talking about.
So yeah, we lost a long clip for that, and we only had the one angle for that. I was kind of bummed about, but
Oh,
you know,
damn.
stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
Electronics, just like in the interview, you know, your Wi-Fi did a little blurb or whatever. You know, that's just how stuff happens sometimes, and you just got to deal with it. Roll with the punches, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wasn't even able to fix that. We're just recording this, and then I'm going to have to somehow get it up there with the other interviews. So, yeah, we'll figure that out afterwards. But I just wanted to, make sure we had the opportunity to finish this. This has been so awesome. So,
Totally, yeah. Thanks for having me.
oh, of course, man. So I think we're actually going to end it off after this next question, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, no doubt.
Alrighty, so as a legend in the BMX world that has done it all, from filming some of the best video parts ever to having pro model bikes with your name on them and being one of the most well-respected names in the BMX industry, what is your advice to an up-and-coming BMX rider of the next generation?
All I got to say is, trust your instinct when you're looking at stuff to do, and you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. You got to know when to walk away from certain things to keep your longevity in the sport, because one wrong move can totally end your entire existence. It's that quick. It lights out real quick, One wrong move can ruin everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's something that people need is caution. Don't just go throwing yourself down everything because, like you said, one wrong move.
One wrong move, exactly. It's crazy. Fine lines to play with,
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the fact that you kind of made it through as a pro rider for 10 years really speaks on
without one.
Yeah, without
I didn't have one that whole 10 years. And then I broke my leg for the Triptape, and I was like, you know what, I'm over it. I'm about to be 30 years old. I'm done trying to go risk myself.
Yeah, especially when in the States it's expensive to get any anything done health wise.
Healthcare is horrible here.
Yeah, I definitely when Joey was on, he was talking to us and he was saying it's about 70 grand for him to get his leg fixed. That is insane. That literally will bankrupt people. That will ruin a person's life. But yeah, I don't know. You have health insurance now, correct?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's such a good move.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I gotta have health insurance for the whole family.
Hell yeah, man. That's so awesome. Good for you, honestly.
Now I just get to live through my children and watch them do sick things and build their skill sets, and I just get to unload all my knowledge I have, and if they listen and take it in, good. If not, that happens. But
yeah,
as of now, I'm just dad life, coach life.
I think that that's such a good next step though, because as we were saying earlier, you can't just be a BMX pro for the rest of your life. It's not a possibility. You can't be 65 doing massive handrails. It's just not a thing, right?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
I don't know how the dudes older than me are still doing it, like Kaczynski and Van Hoem and Corey Martinez, and all these guys that are older than me, they're still doing it. You got to give it up to those guys. Getting up in the morning at that age is a little freaky.
Yeah, we had Chikinski on a while back, and he has always been one of those, send it guys. And even to this day, still sends some of the biggest shit on a bike, and he slams harder than anybody else. Some of the stuff that I've seen him try. Yeah, it just blows me away. I know there's this clip on his Instagram. I don't know how far back it would be, but it's literally a triple kinked rail, and he tries to gap into the second kink and just goes right over the bars and just ends up at the bottom of the rail. Like, how did you get up and walk away from that?
Brian Kaczynski is the definition of a hog.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's the hog.
Oh man, dude, I gotta say this has been awesome. Thank you so much, Shawn, for joining us on the show tonight. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it really helped me kill some time on this long journey I have from the West Coast to the East Coast driving in a truck.
Hell yeah, man. I hope that
Cool. It all worked out pretty good.
hell yeah. I hope that it hope it helped kill some time, and I hope that you guys have, a good rest of your trip.
Yeah, I think it'll go pretty good.
Hell yeah, man. Well, we'll see you guys all in the next one. Thank you. Peace.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. Have a good one.
You too.
Alrighty, guys. Just before we wrap this up, again, I want to thank my friends over at Shapes Work for this awesome Goat Cave, this awesome Money Talks 2020 Championship Award. This is awesome. Thank you guys so much. You can win that at the event, so make sure you guys come out to Money Talks 2020. It's going to be August 9th. Starts at noon at the Odd. The Kitchener Auditorium Skate Park. So we'll see you guys there. Peace.